Today is Friday. It is the 17th of July, and this is Here First from Iowa Public Radio. I'm Michael Leland. Dubuque County was one of the state's first local governments to pass a data center moratorium. Now, county supervisors are exploring an outright ban, as we hear from IPR's Gavin McGough.
The Board of Supervisors directed the county attorney to hire a consultant and draft a possible ban at a work session this week. The decision comes as the board has struggled to draft regulations for data centers since it passed its moratorium in late May. Supervisor Wayne Kenneker says it's time to stop spinning their wheels and consider a ban.
If that's what we want to spend our time and effort doing, then let's do it. If not, let's go to work on the ordinance so we can, in fact, take care of things before we waste this moratorium and talk in circles for another 2 months, 3 months, whatever.
Since Dubuque passed its moratorium, nearly a dozen Iowa counties have followed suit. I'm Gavin McGough, IPR News.
Iowa's unemployment rate held steady in June at 3.2%. Iowa Workforce Development Director Beth Townsend says several areas gained jobs in June.
Private industries were responsible for the June increase. We saw retail trade added over 1,000, finance and insurance added 600. Education and healthcare are now 4,500 jobs above where they were last year, and construction is 1,700 jobs above where they were this time last year.
On the other side, manufacturing lost 1,000 jobs and is down 4,300 so far this year. Townsend says there have been some return of jobs in manufacturing and announcements of new facilities, but it is not going to be a quick turnaround. Scientists have found concerning levels of pesticides in rivers throughout the U.S., especially in agricultural states. For instance, in the Iowa River near the town of Wapello, they found high pesticide levels 38 times. Harvest Public Media's Celia Yopis-Jepsen explains the data comes from a new decade-long study.
The U.S. Geological Survey sampled streams across the country for 80 pesticides and for a decade. Meg Shoda is a USGS hydrologist. She says the middle of the country proved to be a particular concern.
The Mississippi River Basin has a high percentage of sites with increasing trends in pesticides, especially compared to other regions of the U.S.
Two pesticides that kept turning up in rivers were the weed killer atrazine, used on crops like corn, and the insecticide imidacloprid, which is often added to seeds to protect crops as they grow. I'm Celia Yopis-Jepsen, Harvest Public Media.
People in one northwest Iowa community are being asked to conserve water. 2 wells are out of service in Storm Lake. City officials are asking residents and businesses to limit their water use. That includes watering lawns only in the early morning or later in the evening. Other restrictions are also in place. City officials say that water demand remains close to the capacity of the city's water treatment plant. Iowa's largest utility says be wary if you're using a search engine to find the company's 800 number for customer service. Mid-American Energy spokesman Dan Winters says scammers are using paid search engines to manipulate search results and steer people to fake phone numbers where crooks are waiting to take your call.
These criminals have figured out that if you put a fraudulent number in enough places on the internet and you connect that phone number to a real company like Mid-American, then it tricks internet search results into assuming those two are connected when in fact they are not. We don't want people falling for this.
If you want to pay your utility bill online, customers should go through the Mid-American website. Winters says if you're using a search engine to find the utility's address or phone number, review the results carefully before clicking. This is Here First from Iowa Public Radio. I'm Michael Leland. Silos have dotted the landscape for 150 years, but the tall structures on farms that hold feed for livestock are threatened by development and old age. One silo hunter in Illinois has been tracking down her grandfather's silos before they disappear. Jess Savage of the Mississippi River Basin Ag and Water Desk has more.
Marianne May is driving me around the back roads of McHenry County, scanning for those round structures with a shallow point at the top that's characteristic of her grandfather's silo. Some of them have a little diamond shape on the top, his signature.
You can see the signature on that one. I mean, are you shocked that I'm showing you one look, there's one out there. I've already been out to that one too. That one was a trip.
She's a self-proclaimed silo hunter, and she comes back to her hometown throughout the year to find ever more silos that her grandfather, Frank May, built on some of the oldest farms in the Midwest.
Grew up in Richmond, Always knew where a lot of my grandpa's silos were and just sort of had them in my head. Never really thought that I would do anything about it. They just were always there, a part of the landscape.
Silos probably fade into the background for most people who live in the Corn Belt, but their legacy is rooted in Illinois. Historians believe the first one in the Midwest was built in Spring Grove.
All of these magnificent, very utilitarian buildings that really speaks to this kind of rich, dynamic, very diverse agriculture that was practiced.
Bill Kemp is a historian with the McLean County Museum of History. He says silos transformed livestock agriculture. Farmers used to have to rely on dried hay to feed their animals over the winter, but it was bulky and it didn't last long. But silos are airtight containers that farmers could pack tightly with corn, allow it to ferment, and then store it for years. They used to be made of wood, but when people like Frank May started using concrete, farmers could grow their livestock herds even larger. Kemp says initially, farmers were skeptical of this new invention.
Once you would have a farmer in a particular township or in a rural neighborhood construct a silo and find how useful it was, and then that would be quickly adapted by his or her neighbors.
Marianne May says silo hunting can be a thankless task. She's been doing this for 6 years and has identified almost 200 of her grandfather's silos. She estimates there to be at least that many more.
Almost every place I go, there's something. There's some connection, whether it's somebody in my family or extended family, or maybe they worked with Frank, or, there's something fun to be discovered.
So much of this is investigation and guesswork, but she can speculate what it was like for her grandparents to grow up as neighbors, or why he used one shape over another. She brings me to farms with some of her favorite silos. She also brings me to Frank May's childhood home and pointed out the matching silo at the farmhouse across the street. That's where Marianne's grandmother grew up.
I think it's important that these silos are identified, the locations identified, where they are and where they were, because each time I come home, there are some gone.
One of our last stops was a silo she'd visited before. At the very top, she could just barely see something scratched with a fingernail into the concrete. She asked me to bring my zoom camera lens along, and we were able to see the names of her grandfather, dad, and uncles. It was a huge moment, since so much of her research and hunting is based only on clues. It's only the second time she's found his full name written out like that. She called the landowner to tell him.
We believe it says 1940, which makes sense because he may have built it 20 or 30 years before that, and then they wrote their names in there. So
how about that?
Yeah, isn't that cool?
I'm glad that stayed, and everything worked out.
It's yet another reminder that the project is never ending and that it's a gift to learn more about the family history of the area's farming community and the mark farming made on Illinois' landscape.
He's going to be talking about it. I'm going to be talking about it to my family. This is a huge deal to be able to find that and for you to identify what it actually says. It's unbelievable.
She'll be back later this summer to keep finding silos and talking to farmers. I'm Jess Savage.
This story was produced by the Mississippi River Basin Ag and Water Desk and comes to us through Harvest Public Media, a collaboration of public media newsrooms in the Midwest and the Great Plains covering agriculture, food production, and rural life. And that's Here First from Iowa Public Radio. I'm Michael Leland. Have a great weekend and stay cool.